guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneTalk.com. The Epic 4G finally has Android 2.2. Now, it's not official just yet, but what's believed to be the official version has leaked out. I've downloaded it on the Epic 4G. We're going to take a look at it, see what's changed from Android 2.1 to Android 2.2. Let's check it out. Froyo's finally on the Samsung Epic 4G, at least unofficially. It's not available yet through Sprint, but you can download it from Google servers and from a couple of different places on the internet, and I'll leave that to you to find. Go to our website, look up the news post, and find the links. You know, cosmetically, not a whole lot's changed, but you'll notice little subtle things throughout the device in addition to the typical Android 2.2 updates. Most notably, this version of Android 2.2, if this is the, in fact, official version that Sprint runs with when they do the OTA update or over-the-air update, it makes it much more touch-whizzy, if you will. You know, one thing, if you read my reviews or watched my videos, one thing I loved about the Epic 4G, it was the least touch-whiz-ish device out of the Galaxy S devices, if you will. For example, the messaging. If you remember back to when we did the review, the messaging, it was one of the things that carried over from original Android. So it was the original messaging, Android messaging app. And then the format was very similar to stock Android. Now on the Android 2.2, you'll notice that the messaging icons changed, and sure enough, when you go in, it's the typical bubbly. Let's go to send it, for example. You notice it's a typical bubbly, iPhone-like messaging that you see on the Fascinate, the Captivate, and the Vibrant. So, you know, it's a love-hate thing. I mean, some people love TouchWiz. Others, you know, were like me and like the Epic 4G because it was the least touch-whizzy, if you will, out of all of the devices. Now, that said, you know, it's a change there, more TouchWiz-centric. And you can see some other subtle changes out of the box as well. For example, Google's News and Weather widget is now pre-installed on the Android 2.2 build, and you'll notice minor things. The camera icon has changed. It's the TouchWiz camera icon as opposed to one of the more stock Android camera icons, and the calendar icon has changed as well. Now, you may be watching this video and you're thinking one of two things: either, wow, he's really particular, I would have never noticed that, or wow, somebody actually pointed that out. You know, so I'm not the only one that notices little icon differences. So otherwise, you know, pretty similar here. Now, when you go to edit, we can edit the menu, and I can change the icons in the dock now. So that's a nice touch. And that's one of the benefits you get with it being more TouchWiz-centric over the Android 2.1 build that came with it. Now I can change those around, or I can back out of that and go back. You can edit and do it by... we're going to sort those by A to Z, and we're going to save it, and we go back. Otherwise, you'll notice some minor things, like let's go into Android Market, for example, just jumping around. Let's go to download an app. We'll do Angry Birds, Angry Birds, for example. And you can see, of course, the Android Market changes. That's really more of an Android thing and not Android 2.2 specific, but the tabs, of course. And then the benefits you get with Android 2.2, when we go to downloads, we look up Google Maps, for example, we can allow automatic app updating, so you can keep that checked, and whenever there's an update, it'll push it to the device versus asking you to manually update it. So that's a nice touch on that front. Comments and related are in separate tabs as well, but what I really want to point out, let me see if I can find, it'll come at some point, but little things like the text boxes, the blue, it's a darker color blue, little minor things like that. Now you'll notice on the notifications bar, there are 5 shortcuts now instead of 4. There's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, Silent, and 4G, all up the top instead of the old 4. So those are piled in, and some minor differences just aesthetically. The 3G logo is just ever so slightly different, and you'll notice that it's actually one of the few devices that doesn't, when it jumps to Android 2.2 or Froyo, it does not go to the lowercase PM or the smaller PM. It stays like that, so you have to actually go in. You know, many times I've said you can tell Android 2.2 by whether the PM is small or whether it's the typical large font. Well, not the case anymore. You have to actually jump in here and see that it's running Froyo, you know, .dk28 in this case. But, you know, little differences, minor differences there. Otherwise, pretty similar. You know, TouchWiz, all the TouchWiz widgets are still there out of the box. You get the 7 home screens, and you can, there's some added layers where you can add and remove those if you so choose. You can set your home to a different one, or you can remove certain home screens. So again, much more TouchWiz-centric, like the Fascinate or like the Vibrant or the Captivate. So little differences there. Otherwise, you know, pretty similar here. Keypad logs, all of that's the same. But let's jump into applications and see what's changed there. You know, one thing I noticed that was different, free HD game. I don't have a clue what it is, but the free HD game is there. And then other than some minor icon changes, your news and weather, as I said before, and the updated version of YouTube. So you do have that out of the box with it, or after this update, you do get that included. So some minor changes there. I've covered this a million times on other Android 2.2 devices, but Epic owners, it's finally coming your way, officially in the next few days, and unofficially right now. The new Gmail application is on this device. Let me back out so you can see it. It's no longer Android 2.1, so you have the ability to do the Android 2.2 stuff like add an account from the top. And let's jump back into that. And then you get the other benefits like the header, the constant header at the top, and the nice little shortcuts like replying from here, reply all forward, and then when you scroll up, like I said, the header locks to the top and stays there no matter where you are. So that's there, and those are some nice benefits on the Gmail front. Now the big one, it is Android 2.2. Let's open up phonedog.com and watch Flash in action. And while I'm opening phonedog.com, let's go ahead and click here, and there you go. You can see the edit text is slightly different. It's no longer that bright blue like what was found on Android 2.1 on these devices. It's more of a navy blue, but that's beyond the point. I wanted to show you that. But the input method has changed slightly. The Samsung keypad is now installed in addition to swipe and the Android keyboard, so we could use the Samsung keypad, for example, and we'll type in PhoneDog just to get an idea of what Flash looks like. It is a Flash-capable device. It's out of the box. You should get some Flash support, some Flash goodness. We'll see. Okay, here it is. And you can see, actually, ironically, one of the Flash advertisements on our site right now. The Samsung Galaxy S is making the competition. Let's roll over that. Let's play around with it and see what it does. So you can see Flash in action right now. And surprisingly, it's still pretty smooth. It actually expanded out, so we can have a look at that. Expanded out, and then you have the Windows Phone and the other advertisements that we have on the site that are Flash enabled. So you can see, it works pretty well, and surprisingly, even with Flash enabled, the pinch to zoom is pretty responsive. No lag, or little to no lag whatsoever. It's the closest thing I've seen at the moment on an Android device. It's the closest thing I've seen to Windows Phone 7's buttery smooth performance. Granted, it doesn't run Flash, but still, that's some fantastic performance from a device that does run Flash. Other improvements include the new Google search bar with voice search capabilities. So we can go up here and we can search by all web apps, contacts, and of course we can add additional categories, messaging, memo, voicemail, for example. We can come back here and we can search by those, or we can click the search button, the voice search button. Find coffee. Yeah, let's try that again. Find coffee. Let's see what it does. So it finds coffee. So you can see that's available on this device now. And other Android 2.2 improvements include things like saving apps to the SD card, which is a nice touch because this comes with a 16 gigabyte SD card, micro SD card, but only comes with a limited amount of user available storage. So one thing you'll notice in the settings, for example, the icons are now colored very similar to the Samsung Fascinate, and again, it furthers my claim that this device is more touch-wizzy. I'm gonna claim that word, touch-wizzy. It's more touch-wizzy, but you can see in applications, we can manage the applications, and we can manage by what's running, all, or what's on the SD card. So you can save those apps to the SD card if it supports it. So that's a nice touch there. Let's have a look at the what's running. You can see all of that there. Let's have a look at all just to see Adobe Flash Player 10.1 installed. So decent build of Android 2.2. Granted, it goes back to the TouchWiz roots all in all for the most part, but a very solid update. Very smooth on the Flash front in the web browser, so some nice touches there. Can't say I care for the messaging app personally. I actually preferred the Android one that the 2.1 build on this had. But hey, small thing, you give, you take a little bit, and it's nice to see Android 2.2 on the device. Much more coverage to come on 2.2, Froyo, Android, and the Sprint Epic 4G on PhoneDog. Actually, Froyo and 2.2 are the same thing, but you get the idea on PhoneDog.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're giving away a ton of stuff. Check it out, Facebook.com/PhoneDog, and follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron. Ask me any questions you have about this or anything in the mobile industry. Thanks for watching. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com. Catch you next time.